Hey everyone, just welcome back to the Alternatives Podcast. Today we actually have a really neat topic and a really neat guest. The topic is how to maintain friendships during COVID. And honestly, I can't think of a more down-to-earth topic to be discussing with everything that we're navigating. And today we have Seth Redden. He is the high school pastor at Emmanuel Faith, and we're hoping and we know he's going to give us some great wisdom on this topic. Seth, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, don't talk me up. Wait till the but
we'll reevaluate after, right?
exactly. Yeah, I'm Seth. I grew up in Escondido, California. Graduated from Escondido High School, and have been pastoring Emmanuel Faith now for the last couple of years. And just an opportunity to talk about friendship is really great because I find myself as a professional friend, but also sometimes a professional bad friend. And so I really feel like during this season, it's been a really, really challenging time to maintain friendships and to build friendships. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Mm-hmm. Great. Seth, why are friendships important?
I think when you think about friendships are important because friendships are the spice of life, right? Our friends help us deal with our problems. They help us cope with stress. They help us meet life's challenges and help us make better choices in our lives. So for example, one of my best friends lives up in LA, and we noticed we've been putting on our quarantine 15, and we just started texting each other. Like, we need to get better. So we started a running challenge. So they help us make better choices about our health, see different points of view. So I think in this cultural moment we're in, that point, especially seeing other people's points of view is so important. And so, yeah, friends double our joy and divide our grief, so to speak.
That's interesting that you say that, because I just want to unpack a little bit about that. That's nothing that's on the script here, but that's how it goes.
We're in a conversation,
Right. The idea that what you just said is huge because quarantine 15, whatever issue you're going through, we need to choose our friends wisely. And for ones that are going to hold us accountable in whether it's the 15 pounds or whatever. So that's neat that your best friend, even in this environment, you probably can't see them because they're in LA, you're here, but you have a way to work through COVID and do life together with this. So do you have anything to say about choosing friends wisely and holding each other accountable?
Yeah, I think just when we think about who are the people that we want to develop lifelong friendships with, close relationships with, I think just having that value base that's similar, but opinions that are different are so good. And so I would just say, look for a variety of people, and then I think just get to know people, test their character, test the things that are important to them, and be open to being wrong or having a different opinion. This guy and me, he's my best friend. We disagree on a lot of stuff, and that's okay. So hopefully that answered the question. But
iron sharpens iron for sure. Yeah. Having well, it's kind of just like a marriage too. You generally don't marry the person that's very similar to you. You kill each other. So you attract opposites and bring out the best in each other. So yeah. Okay,
and
good.
I think during this time, that's also so important to recognize, you can be friends with someone and completely disagree with them. How do you navigate that? You're talking through these things and you think one thing, they think another. How do you navigate friendship even when you disagree with them? I know that wasn't on our list of questions either. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
We're just blowing you out of the water.
Conversation. We're talking. We're chatting. It's great. I think part of it is just being able to hold incongruity in your own soul and realizing that your opinions, the things that you believe, being open to that, being wrong about things, to being able to reevaluate things. I think a lot of times, especially in the politicization, I can't say that word, but the climate that we're in culturally, there's a lot of tendency to say, I'm wrong, you're right, or you're wrong, I'm right. And so we have trouble, I think, being humble. And so part of, I think, being able to disagree and remain friends and be close friends comes from that humility to say, I don't necessarily see eye to eye to you or with you on this, but that's okay. And, you know, in marriage, especially, you see that, you know, with even your best friend that you live with every day. I don't agree with my wife on a lot of things, and that's okay. It's being able to hold that and still love that person, even in the midst of your disagreements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. And like, so there's the disagreements, there's the not seeing eye to eye, the difference of opinions. There's a lot of things that can make friendship really difficult and hard. It's good, but it's really hard. Can you talk about some of the other things that make just friendship kind of difficult in general?
I think in this season, what you're seeing is friendships are hard because we tend to drift away. I don't think we talk about Jesus's greatest miracle, in my personal opinion, which is having 12 close friends into his 30s, because we just tend to drift. And so it's not that like I don't care about the people I grew up with. There's, you know, some of my best friends in my wedding, whatever it might be. We just get so busy that it becomes this problem of who has time for friends. And I think that's a little bit of why we tend to develop friendships with people we work with, just because they're around, and so you'll take what you can get. And so I think that's part of another thing that's adding to this, is that, you know, a lot of people are working from home, not being able to connect with people face to face. It just makes it hard, and that's just part of growing up. I read a statistic that I think your peak of having close friends, you have about 20 close friends at age 25, and then you get down to about 8 when you're in your 40s. So it's that tendency to just kind of drift and get busy. So it's hard.
Yeah, I was just talking to my sister about that, and she was saying that was one of the things that like really surprised her, because she just turned 30, and she noticed like, oh wow, like it's normal for that big circle of friends to get smaller and for those relationships to really like deepen, develop. And there's goodness in that. Like, it's not like you're doing anything wrong or doing anything weird. Like, it's normal, and there is like goodness and sweetness in those friendships, even though that circle has gotten smaller. But yeah, I totally think you're super spot on with like during COVID-19, one thing that's so hard is like just the distance, because it's not always fun like talking on the screen like that, and it's just harder to connect with people because we can't always go to restaurants or go on coffee dates or whatever, and so those normal spaces that we have to build those relationships, those connections, like we just don't have, so it is just very different. But what does being a good friend look like in this season?
Yeah, I think it kind of looks the same as it did pre-COVID, which sounds weird because I think COVID-19 has been, I think, the exacerbation of an existing problem that I probably wasn't already doing a super great job connecting to my friends. And I couldn't connect in person at all now. And so I think, you know, to be honest, it's just the texting, the video chatting. I've loved seeing the different ways that people have taken to connecting in this season. One of my favorites is just, you know, my wife and some of our college friends who live all over the country have started doing social distance happy hour, where they just get on Zoom calls and grab whatever they can and just chat and have a good time together. You know, people are using different apps, Marco Polo. We've taken to doing kind of watching a show and just doing reviews together via Marco Polo. So there's just different ways to connect. I think it looks kind of the same. It's just that intentionality that we need to say, okay, what am I doing to be intentional with my relationships? How am I doing this? And I've never been offended by someone asking me the question, how are you doing? I've never been like, how dare you ask me, how am I doing? What do you mean? How am I doing? So I would just say if you have people in your life that you miss, being a good friend just looks like I think it did pre-COVID-19, checking in, being a good friend that cares and has genuine concern over their friends and the people that are in their life.
You know, I agree with Seth. I think being a good friend shouldn't change during this season. The intentionality that you speak of and time, we can't necessarily be together, or, you know, some states are lightening up more than others. But the technology that we do have with those video chats and things like that, yesterday I had a friend call from Virginia who we were friends with when Pete was in the minors. And so we've known them 30 years. And her daughter is sick with cancer, and she wanted me to pray with her daughter, who's basically on hospice. And it was an amazing thing to be a part of this family and to like be in the bedroom with them. But I'm sitting here in my office, and all these memories of the past came flooding up. But yet at the end, it's like, you're my friend, you'll be my friend forever, let's keep in touch. And we have that ability to reach out to somebody. So I think it's just taking that time. And what you just said, Seth, about, hey, how are you? That means so much to people. Yes, some people can get offended, but other people are like, do you really care? Are you really taking the time to ask me how I am? Or is that just a rote question? But that opportunity to pour into somebody's life so that they can be seen, we have that now more than ever. So that's huge to be able to do.
Yeah, it's sometimes just knocking on the door and seeing who opens up. And I think that sometimes I have the tendency to be like, oh man, I haven't talked to this person in months or years or whatever that might look like. And I kind of psych myself out and be like, well, why would that person want to talk to me? Why would they want to hear from me? But the worst thing that can happen is really that they don't answer. Or they say like, where have you been? And then it's an awkward conversation but the reaching out part of it is, being able to explain, hey, this is what I've been up to. How have you been? What have you been up to? I just think that people, sometimes we psych ourselves out a little bit thinking that no one's going to respond. Maybe people don't like me. One of the things that, I've been doing as a high school pastor is, texting some of the high schoolers, like, how are you guys doing? We miss you. What's up? And that tendency is like a 31-year-old man to be like, should I be like, this is my job, but this is kind of weird. And you psych yourself out. And most of them are like, oh my gosh, thanks for texting me. I'm doing well. Here's what we're doing. And so I think that happens in friendship too. It's just, we sometimes just think, who'd want to talk to me? And the answer is probably a lot of people. So.
Yeah.
Especially right now, like I know for me, I recognize my need for community so much more in this season because it was just like always there. It was part of like my life, my lifestyle. And like being in this season where it actually requires a lot of intentionality to build that, I definitely recognize like, oh no, like we were all made to do life with each other. We can't do it alone. And like how crazy and like how much it means just to get a simple text of like, hey, how are you? You've been on my heart.
Right.
And I'm also like just super thankful for the technology that we have so we can like be face to face right now. Like if we didn't have Zoom, like we couldn't record this with you right now. And so we have the ability to do that. So that's really cool. And one thing, if somebody is in this place and they're kind of evaluating, wow, like I haven't been invested in community, I haven't been a part of this, I don't really feel like I've like either been a good friend or don't have any friends, like how can somebody go about building community and building new friendships in this season?
Yeah, I think looking for communities that are already in existence, such as if you're young, college age, there's different churches that have different ministries and areas that you can get plugged in. If you're not a church person, there's other ways too. I mean, there's meetups, there's things like that people are doing Zoom things. One of my suggestions, and this might sound a little weird, but if you're looking to create new friendships in this season, I would encourage people to be open to intergenerational friendships. Most people are our own age that we connect with and that we're friends with. But there's probably a lot of people around you that you would see that are your neighbors, the elderly, that you can strike up a conversation with. And because of how, especially coronavirus targets the elderly, put it out there in your neighborhood. Hey, I'm willing to grocery shop. I'm willing to pick things up. Whatever it is, and in those moments, spend a few moments getting to know someone, getting to hear their story, getting to learn a little bit about the things that they've been through. And that's hard especially for older folks in this season, because they're just missing out on a lot of social interactions. And as a result, because we're created for that community, we're created for bonds, the health outcomes of that are pretty bad. So I would just say, if you can, think about intergenerational friendships as opposed to just, man, where are the people my age? And you might be surprised at who pops up.
Can you kind of unpack that a little bit more with intergenerational friendships and like why they're important and why we need them, as opposed to like just having friends that are our age?
Yeah, I think we all benefit when we have kind of a plurality of wisdom and people in our lives that we can go to for just wisdom and advice. And, you know, as you know, I'm an Enneagram 7 and I'm an ENFP on Myers-Briggs. So I love to just take in people's opinions, and, you know, that's kind of just how I'm wired. But to be able to kind of get a plethora of information, I think helps us make better decisions, helps us to be wiser in the things that we do, gives us examples and people that we can look at things. Hey, that is something I want to emulate or strive towards later in life, or something that maybe I just want to desperately avoid later in life. That's part of it too. But just having those people that are just the next step ahead or next couple steps ahead, that we can say, okay, how can I learn from this person and be open to taking the good and the bad and discerning what are the things that you can kind of incorporate into your life too. So.
And by that same token, I mean, I think you're talking up there, like learning from this person.
Right. And it goes the other way too,
right,
in the sense
exactly.
that, like, you know, my grandpa's 80 in his 80s, he's using House Party. Like, you know, there's we learn from the younger generations too. I mean, Zoomers and Gen Z are teaching us new things every single day.
Right.
And so I would just say that, yeah, it's good for us that are, you know, younger. I guess I'm in my 30s, but those of us still a little bit younger, to say, okay, who are the older people? But for the older generation too, to say that young people actually have things to teach me and to give me. And sometimes that's a humility thing too, but and it goes both ways. So
yeah, no, it's and I think sometimes when you because I'm the old one on this podcast, looking out to mentor somebody and to pour wisdom or whatever, every time I walk away and go, dang, I was blessed by that conversation. That the wisdom that's coming out of this kid, in my terms, it was just like, thank you, Lord. I needed that for me. And so it's this transformational living, no matter which way you're going to. So
yeah, seeing the last year's seniors that graduated, one of the comments I made to the parents is like, they actually, I think, did better ministry to their leaders than their leaders did to them. So that's just kind of how it goes sometimes.
Right. That was a big class. And no, that's so true. There's actually, we could have gone on with a lot of other questions too with this, because I think this is so important for people to really take that time. One thing I'd like to say on this, where taking the opportunity to reach out to someone, and what's the worst that can happen? They would say no, or they don't answer, there's crickets, and sometimes we get all hurt about that. But I know with a couple of my friends right now, we have this thing, let's not take ourselves too seriously. You know, if you reach out and somebody doesn't call you back, it's not because they're angry with you or whatever, but they have 80 other things going on. So just believing the best in other people, as you and your own intentions. You want to be a friend to somebody. The best way to have a friend is to be a friend, and reaching out to them, and whatever will happen. Sometimes it just, seasons come, seasons go, so do friends. But like that friend I spoke of earlier, it's back up, and it hasn't missed a beat, and it won't miss a beat. You know, so it's continuing to strive on. Seth, what final piece of encouragement would you give somebody?
Yeah, Tammy, to your point, I think giving people the BOD, the benefit of the doubt, is certainly a huge part of it. But I would say back to that intentionality piece, just reach out, if connect, but be that person that does it intentionally. I'm very forgetful, so if you text me in the last few months and I haven't reached out to you or texted
We were going to bring that up.
Yeah, you know. Sorry, Tammy. I'm sorry. But set the reminders in your phone to text again, and who cares who responds? Worst comes to worst, they tell you to leave you alone. But I just say the biggest thing is we all start somewhere, and so just taking the first step, I think, is so important. And sometimes we kind of, especially when relationships and friendships break down, to reconnect. Sometimes we want the other person to take the first step. Maybe you feel like they wronged you or something to that nature. But if you want to reconnect with people, I think the first step, if you know it can happen, just take it. So
That's good. That's good.
And I don't think it's necessarily bad if you go, like, if you have a season with a friendship where you don't talk as much. That's like super normal.
Totally.
As you get older, you have seasons where maybe it's like a month or two goes by and you don't talk, and then you like grab coffee, or maybe not coffee because we're in COVID, but you FaceTime, and it's like nothing's changed. You
Right.
update each other, and it's like no time has passed. But also kind of what one of you said it, but like people don't get angry when you ask how they're doing, and it can go a long way. But also I think there's just this huge lie that all of us believe of like, oh, they don't want to talk. And I think, Seth, you would address that a little bit too, where it's something that we believe and we doubt in ourselves of like, oh, they don't want to talk to me, oh, I just shouldn't reach out anyways. And that's like such a lie that I think inhibits a lot of good relationship and community and like growth.
Yeah, and I know to all my introverted friends out there, like that is, I know, really hard. And so it's I think really easy to be in my position and say, these are things you should do. And knowing that there's a lot of people out there that will think through every single word of the text and all of those things, and then maybe decide not to send it. I would just encourage you, yeah, it's okay to send it, and that just to live a life that's fearless, and it's gonna be okay. Don't overthink it. Don't over analyze the things that, you know, how you're doing is pretty simple. So.
And the thing, I think, you know, there's sometimes where I believe the Lord puts certain people on my heart, and I just shoot a text out. I'm like, hey, how's it going? What's, you know, I'm just started thinking about you. Everything all right? How can I pray for you? And it's like, are you kidding me? You know, what just happened today? And what a blessing that is. What an honor that is to walk alongside somebody in that trial. And by that same token, on a bad day, sometimes I've gotten texts, hey, this verse just came to me for you. Like, whoa, that's a really neat thing to have that we're made for that connection, and we help spur each other on. Life is not easy for any of us. You mentioned introverts. This to me, the COVID right now is like probably an introvert's dream. for those of us who are extroverts, it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's like, I want my people. This Zoom is okay, but I need people around, and let's talk, walk, play, do whatever. And you can't.
Right.
So it's for the introverts out there, just think of us extroverts. We need you right now.
Consider one another, right?
Yeah. Okay. What is one thing that you've recently overcome?
Yeah, this is a good question, and I still think I'm still overcoming, and so, but that idea, especially in this season, gosh, it's the difficulty of living continually with a mindset set to the future, to a point that it robs me of the present, and I've just found myself in this tendency to focus on so much that. Focusing on so much that isn't, that I lose sight of just all that could be. And so, and I think it applies to this conversation, that sometimes we lose focus on just all the things that we're missing out on, summer vacations, things that we normally do. You know, this is A couple of weeks ago is usually the week we go up to Hume Lake, thinking of what students are missing out on. And we
The leaders up there are missing out on.
yeah, your daughter being one of them. But yeah, we just lose sight of the things that actually could be really good and really life-giving. And so I'm in process. I wouldn't say I've overcome it, but I think that it's something that I'm continually being taught in this season.
I think that's a great subject for each one of us. Lots of times when we ask this, you know, you listen to the person share what they have overcome or are overcoming. But Seth, what you just mentioned, we're all going through this.
Mm-hmm.
And what a great perspective to go, oh, wait, I am doing that constantly. What was mourning, what used to be, what could have been, what should have been, what is it going to be? You know, where we thought we had it in control before, which was a lie.
Right.
And now we just can believe that we have nothing in control. So that's great. I think for the listeners out there to go, oh wow, am I doing that too? How can I change my mindset on that and be present in the moment and have joy in that journey of that and look at the blessings of what is. My goodness gracious, we have all these engagements coming all over the place. People are golly.
Woo.
So fun
2 of
stuff.
us in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Love is in the air. So, but the blessings of that. So thanks, Seth. That was the best overcoming answer I've heard. How can our listeners,
Here all week.
how can our listeners get in contact with you? Because you who you are, where you are at EFCC, there's a lot of potential listeners that could get. It would be a great opportunity for them to meet with you and become your friend. So how could our listeners get in contact with you if they want to share or talk?
Yeah, I work at a church, so if you obviously can go find my email address on the church website, I'm sure, but you can also follow me on Instagram. SRedden7 is my Instagram handle, Facebook, whatever's easiest, and shoot me a message, whatever that looks like for you. I'd love to connect. So
okay.
Can you share Collide's Instagram as well? Because they can find you there too.
That's true. Yeah, it's just CollideHS. So Instagram.com/CollideHS, or just search CollideHS. It should pop up. So
good.
Look for my face on the page. Although it's a podcast, I don't know if you maybe you probably won't see my face, so that's a little awkward. But Google me. I'll pop up. So.
Well, thank you for coming on here and how you just pour into so many in the community, and even as one of the youth leaders of Volunteer, and how you pour into my life. And I'm just really grateful for that, and how you have just shared so much wisdom today, and even shared it from your perspective and what you've walked through and are currently walking through. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on. Appreciate it a lot.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in today, and just coming along for this ride this summer. And I hope that this is encouraging for you in this time of COVID, because I think friendships make a huge difference in our well-being and how we're doing. And so I hope you were able to take something away. If you guys could leave us a rating and review, that would be a huge help. Also, if you guys are on Instagram, you can find us at AlternativesMC. Hopefully we will see you there, and we'll talk to you soon.